So, welcome to another episode. So, today we're going to talk about Zen Koans. So, you probably would have heard of Zen Buddhism, and one of the ways they sort of establish or provide their teachings is through a koan, which is very similar to like a parable or some form of story that provides a moral insight or a learning curve or something along those lines. Provide you something to think about. So a Zen koan is defined as a paradoxical question, statement, or story to provoke deep thought and stimulate enlightenment. It gives you a way of looking at things in a slightly different way than you would otherwise. We do tend to think of things in the wrong way, don't we? And actually, it sometimes takes someone else to point out a different way of thinking, and then we question ourselves and think, well, that makes so much sense. Why didn't I think about that before? So there's many commands actually. There's 50 or 50 plus. But there's two of them that I really like, and we're going to talk about both of them and explain what's basically meant by them as well. So the first one is called right and wrong. So I'll read it first, and then we'll look at what there is to learn from it. So right and wrong. When Banki held his seclusion weeks of meditation, pupils from many parts of Japan came to attend. During one of these gatherings, a pupil was caught stealing. The matter was reported to Banki with the request that the culprit be expelled. Banki ignored the case. Later on, the pupil was caught in a similar act, and again, Banki disregarded the matter. This angered the other pupils, who drew up a petition asking for the dismissal of the thief, stating that otherwise they would leave. When Banki read the petition, he called everyone before him. He explained, "You are wise brothers. You know what is right and what is not right. You may go somewhere else to study if you wish, but this poor brother does not even know right from wrong. Who will teach him if I do not? I'm going to keep him here even if all the rest of you leave." A torrent of tears cleanses the face of the brother who had stolen. All desire to steal had vanished. Now, if you think about that, you can understand where the pupils are coming from, can't you? You can understand that, they're part of this great school that teaches all of these fundamental moral or ethical ways of living. And a student is actually stealing. Now, what Banky is saying is that actually, you guys have learnt your lessons. You guys understand that it's wrong. But my new student doesn't. So he needs to be more than you guys. He needs to be here more than you guys because he's not yet learned the lessons that you have. Now, I think this is a really powerful message because a lot of the times when people do wrong, we're very quick to judge, very quick to throw them out. And this theme is called compassion over punishment. It's about understanding where someone is in their journey and understanding that punishment might not be the best way to achieve your goal of changing someone. Maybe you need to be understanding and forgive. Because if you don't, that person may never change. If you are the teacher in Banky's case, you do have to assume responsibility as well, don't you? You have to say, well, actually, this is my job. This is what I want to try and achieve. If it's a case of when anyone does anything wrong, you just throw them out, you'll have no one left. You'll have no one left. Think of a martial arts school. This is how I think of it. If you've got a new student who's really bad at it, and you've got 25 black belts, who need to score more? 25 black belts obviously think, it's our school and, this is the standard with the setting. But think about actually from a learning perspective, the new guy needs the teaching more. Now, if there's 25 black belts, there could be the peer pressure to the sensei or the coach or Banky in this case to go with the majority and succumb to group dynamics. But if you're in charge of the ship, you have to make these decisions. You have to be the guy that has the vision and can provide this to those, I don't use like Jesus word, but below you in some respects. There isn't a rigid right and wrong, is there, in some ways? There's a case of knowing what's wrong, but understanding that maybe you're not going to be wrong forever. And in this example with Banky, he taught through example, didn't he? He taught in front of the old students and the new students how to think. And the fact that the new student was there, that's the one who stole, with tears running down his face, understood one, that it was wrong what he did, and actually he's learned his lesson from that. And secondly, that Banky was willing to help him. He was willing to get rid of all of his other students to help this guy. Now, I'm not saying that Banky didn't just say that to prove the point, but that in itself proves the point, doesn't it? We should focus on morality and inner transformation, and that's what this story tries to illustrate with compassionate leadership and the transformation of the thief. And look, you were at one point a child who couldn't walk, and now you can walk and run and jump and sprint, whatever. But if you're judging yourself at that point, you would call yourself a non-runner. And yeah, obviously that's a very extreme example, but this is the point we're trying to make. Therefore, could you think about this in your own life and those that maybe you're trying to cut off or just think that net will never change? Maybe could you be Banky? Could you be the teacher and teach for example and teach what's right from wrong? So that's the first koan. Really great one. Love the morals, love the story. And there is a second one that I really like as well, which is called The Moon Cannot Be Stolen. Ryakan, a Zen master, lived the simplest kind of life in a little hut at the foot of a mountain. One evening, a thief visited the hut only to discover there was nothing to steal. Ryakan returned and caught him. You have come a long way to visit me, he told the prowler, and you should not return empty-handed. Please take my clothes as a gift. The thief was bewildered. He took the clothes and snuck away. Raiken sat naked, watching the moon. Poor fellow, he mused. I wish I could have given him this beautiful moon. So, what does this show? You could have been angry at the thief who's come to steal your things, but Raikkonen was obviously a minimalist, wasn't he? He's living at the foot of a mountain for the sole reason of seeing the mountains and being around nature and the moon in this example. And he's not too fussed about the material nature of clothes and shoes. He was a simple man, wasn't he? He was generous. The thief came for something, and he felt bad himself that Riken or the thief, sorry, didn't get anything. And actually, he was willing to be even more generous and wants to give him the moon. But what he understood was that you can't give anyone the moon. There is no ownership there. Riken had a detachment from his materials possessions, didn't he? And he found inner peace and simplicity in other ways. He showed kindness and treats the thief with compassion as opposed to, again, like the first example, punishment. And actually, he showed a level of empathy as well. A thief comes to take something and couldn't take it, therefore he stepped in and provided him with something. Now, despite giving his clothes away and he sat there naked at the bottom of the mountain looking at the moon, he's content still. He's fulfilled. He understands that not being attached and not being materialistic breeds its own kind of freedom, that nothing can upset you, nothing can piss you off. And, you can never really get distressed. Again, this is a teaching through example analogy or koan. Instead of punishing, he taught by being generous and giving to the thief who was bewildered, wasn't he? Because ownership is an illusion. The real things, the best things of life and free are free and all that, it cannot be owned. The moon, the earth, nature, your health. There's no ownership there involved. So we should find beauty in everyday life and we should embrace simplicity and understand that you shouldn't be attached to your new watch or new car or, this new designer jacket that you've got. You should live simply and understand that it's the simple things in life that are important. Now, there are many other koans as well. As I said, there's almost 50. And I'd suggest reading them because they do give you a great insight as to how you should behave, how you should think, so that you can become your best self.